Okay, we get some of this tea here. I think when I have a cup of tea. Anyways, a lot of times, I was just recently um, explaining the concept of the flea market. And I shouldn't say the free market, it's the flea market. A lot of times you hear economists and political figures and everyone in their mind, and everyone in their mind talk about the free market capitalism, free market. No, it's flea market. Basically, what you have, and let's just draw something. I'm not going to name any countries or anything of that nature. You can draw your own conclusion. So let's say this is country X. We'll just say this right here is country X. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Let me just do this. Make sure. Maybe that's going to be a lot easier to see this. Let's make country X. Okay, let's make it even more of a. So this is country X. Okay, and here's some water. Some water. My water's not good. Let's forget about it. Yeah, let's just do this. Okay, let's just make it a little easier. Let's see, water X. Let's see. Let me see if I can get a spray can. You know how they. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, there we go. So this is, say this is your water surrounding country X. Country X. Okay. I guess the water's coming up on the shore a little bit. Okay. Think of country X. And when I say country X, basically think of country X as a flea market. Okay? Basically, what a flea market, for those who don't know, basically, it's the concept of, you get a lot of folks together and they put up their own stands in this one particular area and everybody sells, whether to each other or whoever walks through. It's basically selling their products, goods, services, whatever else it is. Now, what you have going on is you have a situation where country X is a flea market, okay? No real national identity, even though that folks might say, here's country X's flag, they might let's put up a flag here. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let me find a good flag here. Let's see, I need to change this, and we need to go with this. Cool. So this is country X flag. Now, basically what you have going on is country X built itself up. And it doesn't matter, like I said, I'm not putting any, for lack of a better term, I'm not, stating that this is any particular country. But just to give you the concept of, certain economies that, folks, just kind of give you a little heads up as to where things may be headed globally. Now, what you have is, this is country X. My flag is not doing real good, but just to give you a bit of, there we go. That's a little better. Okay, country X builds itself up, say by bringing more and more folks to. Let's just get rid of that. Let's draw some people here. Country X builds itself up by bringing people, and these are all the people, to there to build up their stands. Now, the thing is these folks live in country Y, country Z. Let's make up some other countries. Y, country Z. This might be country Y. This is country Z. This is country Q. country F, so it doesn't really matter, what it is country X, and let's put an X there, so that way we know this is country X, built itself up and its economy by bringing individuals, doesn't matter where they're from, or from like country Y, country Z, it doesn't matter, again, just no names or anything else. But also country X, right here, this main country X, brought these folks, or what it did is it built itself on being a flea market. If you're from country Y, you can go ahead and bring, you might bring, it doesn't matter what it is, I mean, it's, you might bring some of your technology, you might bring, it doesn't, again, it literally doesn't matter, even if if they're even indigenous to country X, it doesn't really matter. The bottom line I'm trying to get to is it's a concept of a flea market, where no matter where folks go, whether they're from country Y, country Z, country F, let's make this country F, country Q, that all that country X cares about is that individuals are constantly buying and selling. It's a capitalism, or I should say at the root word, capitalize, or if you want to even get even deeper, capital, whether it's human capital, intellectual capital, physical capital, resource capital, doesn't matter. Their thing is to set up little stands to buy and sell. And let's make some little stands here, and we'll make them in the shape of, okay, these little triangles are little stands, like a flea market would be if you walk through a flea market. Now, of course, country X has to, and let's make that X a little bigger if we can. I guess I can. Country X has to find a way to protect its flea market. So what country X does is it creates big ships and big guns and everything else. Let's make some really big ships here. It makes ships to protect it. There's a big ship right there, maybe a ship right there. Has, some airplanes to protect it. It does what it can to make sure that flea market maintains. Okay, I know this is not really a good plane, but, just to give kind of an idea, So, that was more like a sub. Let's see. Do this. Let's just do this and see if we can make a good plane. Okay. So there's a plane. So it creates the mechanism for it to be protected. So that way the flea market is always going to be protected. So that way it can continue. And it could so basically all it is, again, it's a flea market. Now this is country X's flag. What country X knows, but even there's a lot of folks that become like I said, there's either indigenous folks or people that go there. Country X, or those that know that this is the concept of a flea market, know that the bottom line is all they care about is buying and selling. But there are others who don't have that concept. They're believing in the flag of country X. They look at that flag and they say, "Oh man," they become patriotic. They're believing in the concept, but not necessarily in the substance of what country X represents, what it is. Bottom line, country X is a flea market. All it cares about, you create your stand, you capitalize on whatever product, services, whether you created your stand from coming in, like, again, from country Z, let's draw an arrow, whether you came in from country Z, oops, this, or you came in from country Y, or you came in from country F. It doesn't matter whether you come in from there or if you're indigenous to country X. Bottom line is country X is a flea market, okay? And it has mechanisms to protect itself, okay? It also has mechanisms to communicate. It even educates these little red ones, the folks that just believe in the concept. They're thinking about the flag and the national identity of country X, whereas the other ones are thinking more of the concept of what country X is, which is nothing but a flea market. Okay, they realize, hey, we don't care about whatever flag is up there. Bottom line is, we've got to make sure goods and services are floating and circulating not only within country X, but wherever whoever comes in to buy. So country X gets a little big for its britches. It creates a common mechanism for everybody. Keep in mind, as long as it has its flea market protected, intact, it could allow itself to expand and grow. So country X creates a mechanism of trade. It says, we can go ahead and create this stuff right here that we can call, what are we going to call it? We'll call it, what do we want to call this thing? We'll just call this a, let me just do this. Let me just fix this out. Let's see. Solid color. Good. Okay. Country X says, let's create a mechanism of trade. Get rid of this. Okay. I thought I had the fill color in there. Solid color. Outline. Okay, let's see if this will work. And this mechanism of trade, all it represents is a way that country X can go ahead and make sure that goods and services are constantly flowing within country X. Okay, so folks can trade. So this little green thing right here is just country X's way of saying, we just want to make sure we're going to create this mechanism to where everybody has to use this in order to trade. Okay, it doesn't matter whether it's that or whether it's clamshells. It doesn't matter what it is. It just uses this green thing right here, so this guy can trade with that guy, and they don't have any direct trade. They just go and trade with this, or they can trade with country X, country Q, country Y. Everybody is based upon country X's mechanism of trade. It's a protective measure, and it says, hey guys, I'm gonna make this real easy for you. You use this, you don't have to worry about what this guy, how much he's, whether he's got 3 goats and you have 3, gym shoes. We'll just use this one little mechanism right here, this green thing right here. Now let me put an arrow there. This green thing right here as a mechanism, so everyone can trade and still have the concept. We'll be the main flea market where everybody can do its thing. So what country X does is it gets a little big for its britches, and it says, you know what? We like country. We like what let me get rid of that arrow almost. What country F is doing, but you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna base country F. We're gonna expand our flea market, basically. It said, why not just expand what we're doing? And let's expand our flea market to country F. So now all of a sudden country F is part of. Let's do this right. Make it a little bit better. So now country F is part of country X. And when I say part of, we're saying what it does is it will export its labor, it may export its technology, it may trade, but basically it becomes an economic satellite of country X. And country X says, you know what, I'd really like to expand. So keep in mind, as it created that, it also has to create a mode of protecting country F. Oops, let's get rid of the fill. Make no fill in there. Okay, so it has to create a system to make sure that country F is protected. So of course, it ain't gonna let country F sit out there. And in case something happens between country F and country Q, they don't get along. The guys say, hey, I think you're building nukes. We don't have problems. But keep in mind, now that country F is an economic satellite because it's exported goods, maybe it's exported technology, and maybe it's outsourced jobs, whatever it is, it now has to protect, because this is just a flea market. It expanded its flea market out there. Also, you have the same system of people who believe that the identity as well as those who believe in the concept of what the flea market, because now you have a bigger flea market. You have a much bigger flea market. So basically, this flag now encompasses country F. And so the same thing happens with country Y. Say country Y is now a part of country, an economic satellite. They may have exported jobs. They may even exported currencies. They may have done whatever they could to, but so keep in mind, you're still in the concept of a flea market. The flea market just got bigger. That's all. Again, keep in mind, as it gets bigger, you have to protect the flea market. Now, say for instance, country Q says, man, I don't like this. I got to hang out with country Z. Maybe we can make our own flea market. Maybe we can, say country Q all of a sudden finds country A has gang loads of resources and is like, the country A has everything that everybody needs to trade, irrespective of this green mechanism that country X has put together. So country Q says, hey, we're going to invest in country A over here, which is this country right there, okay? And now all of a sudden country Q says, what we'll do is make an economic block where we can do direct trade. We can do, with country A over here, we can, we don't have to, we'll just develop our own, or at least put put the mechanism together for our own flea market. We don't have to worry about, dealing with country A. We can start to, again, it's about flea markets, okay? Not free market capitalism, but flea market capitalism. And, or you can say flea market, enterprise. It doesn't matter the terms are terms. Euphemisms, isms are basically the practice thereof, if you want to call it that. So it really doesn't matter. So all of a sudden, country Z says, hey, you know what? I like that. I'm going to continue to trade with this guy, but I like the concept of you having your own. Because what that does is, we can now put together our own. Let me go ahead and see if I can do this. Let's see. I need to get this and a freehand drawing. Okay, let's do this. It says, I need to be able to trade with country Q, bypass that green thing down there, and I can trade with country Q and country A. Now we have our own flea market that can compete with this flea market. Now keep in mind, again, if you're going to compete with the flea market, you have to protect your own flea market. Okay? So now all of a sudden, country A has to be protected by both country Q and country Z. Because country Z way over here, even though it's doing its thing, it has to not only protect itself, because keep in mind, anytime you compete, it's mafioso time. Basically, folks are going to say, hey, I got an offer you can't refuse. You're taking more of my resource, or your flea market is competing with mine. We're going to have some problems. So now all of a sudden, these guys have to protect themselves, and they have to protect this growing flea market that they're putting together called country A. Okay? Because country A might have a gangload of resources that maybe country A has things that country X needs. So country X is like, well, look, I'll do trade with country A. Oops, get rid of that circle. I could do, some trade with country A. But keep in mind, if country A, country Q, and country Z here have their own flea market, that means that that's a direct competitor with country X. That means that country X has to approach country A and Q and Z on different terms than it would approach country F and country Y. So literally what you have is, a lot of folks, when I talk to them, you have a lot of folks that are very jingoistic. They throw up their flag and they throw up their, I believe in this government and I believe in that government, or this party or that party, when it doesn't really matter, because the bottom line is the country that they reside in is a flea market. And those who know that it's a flea market maximize whether it's their profits, their business, they put up their stand, whether that stand is Starbucks or whether that stand is the lemonade stand. They know that they have to do whatever they can to make money within that. Okay, they may be able to franchise to other countries, but the bottom line is they realize it's about the flea market. Okay, they may not, they may only look at the flag, and when I say that, have that national identity only when it comes to protecting the flea market and creating more profits, or competing or dismantling competition, or expanding to greater markets, or protecting the markets that they have. Then they can become jingoistic. They could be, whatever the case is. Okay. Now, anyways, you have country Q. Say country Q and country A way over here, and country Z. Say, you know what? We don't need this green thing that they have. Let's create this thing right here. Let me do this. Let me get this. Let's use this mechanism right here. We'll call it. Let's put a wild name on it. Let's see. Let's make it. We'll call it a metal. We'll call it a brillite. Okay. We don't. It doesn't even matter what it is. We'll just call it that. Brillite. This metal that they have right here. Okay. And let me see if I can make a better copy of it. Okay. All right. Let's do this. This. Let's see if this will work. So they'll use brillite to trade with each other. Country Q, country Z. So now all of a sudden, not only are they competing with creating new markets, because keep in mind, these markets, and especially if this is producing a lot of resources, that might be very, very lucrative or very attractive to country F to say, hey, I like, let's get rid of that and let's give it a better color there. Okay, country F might say, I like trading and being an economic satellite of country F, but I really would like to get some stuff cheaper from country A, or maybe, country Z has a few things that I might be able to get from them, or country Q, or I could get something really cool from country Z. Country Z way over here. So, I wouldn't mind it. So all of a sudden, country F says, well, I know that I could either trade using this right here that is subjective to whatever the flea market that expanded country X does. I could be either subjected to that, so if that rises in price or falls in price, I'm very subjected to that. Or I could go get some brillite, and I can trade using brillite to go ahead and have direct trade with countries Q, country A, and country Z. And say, for instance, that may help country F because it now has a hedge. It has two competing flea markets that it could, like, say, for instance, if the country X, if what its mechanism of trade devalues, well, then that'll give more value to its competition, which is that has brillite. So, that might be a good hedge if they're acquiring more brillite, and they can turn that brillite back into this thing, right here, when it becomes, when they can buy more of these little green things down here with more brillite, So basically, what you have is you have a situation where a lot of folks get very jingoistic, especially during election season. The so-called public. Remember the little redheads, these little red dots. We call them the redheads, and these other ones are the blackheads. The blackheads are the ones that understand the concept that this is only a flea market, and you build your stand on the flea market, whether it's your business, whether it's your production, your whatever mechanism that you can to sustain yourself and create a future. That's literally what the blackheads know about it, because they're like, hey, we know what the concept of cash is. We learned this game before. Whereas the redheads are thinking, we believe in the flag. We're gonna vote for whoever pushes that flag up. That flag does not care. All the flag is just a representation of the flea market. Now again, if the flag makes the flea market money, shoot, folks will be voting for that flag. You can call them lobbyists. Whatever makes that thing money, or creates or helps it compete with those that are holding the brillite. So literally what you have. And the reason I had to put this out is I'm going to show you how they could solve the Eurozone crisis. Sometimes the simplest thing is the hardest thing to accomplish. Kind of like trading. It's really easy to do, but it's hard to accomplish. Or I should say, even better yet, The simplest thing is right in front of everybody's face. I mean, it's so in front of everyone's face. It's almost like I can't believe that they haven't figured this thing out. You know, it's like the economic crisis that they're into. And I'm gonna give a little hint. Back in Philadelphia, back in the late '60s, early '70s, they had a thing called BRL, and these were books. And the children had to read these BRL books. Within those books is the solution. Not only, because you have folks talking about, Eurozone or this zone or that zone. I've been telling folks that there's several movies that they got to watch, and all the solutions are within Man Friday, which came out in 1975, and the last episode of Gilligan's Island, and the episode of King of the Hill that featured the American Chopper guys. I mean, it's going to be funny when I tell you. I mean, it's really a stretch, and a lot of folks are like, man, how can you talk? But all of those presented exactly what the dilemma of country X is in, as well as country Z, country A, and country Q, as well as country F and Y. But, and that little green thing down here that is literally, I should say, for lack of a better term, I'm gonna see if I can make some fire here. Now I was gonna say that this thing right here, this little green thing, that is having this going. Wait, let's see if I can do this. Let's see if I can make this thing happen. Let's see if I can. It's going. Help me. This thing is like going. This green thing right here. Again, all the solutions are wrapped up within that, and I'll explain it later. But it's so funny. Like I said, the easiest thing, especially when I see all these economists and all these TV shows and talking heads, and whether it's CNBC, Bloomberg, NTD TV, you name it. I mean, Russia Today. I see all these talking heads talking about economic this and how this should be. And the simplest thing is right out in front of everybody's face.